On New Year's Eve of 2018, I recorded a video which I published the next day. In that video, I reflected on my time in the secular community, as well as my shared frustration with constantly having my work policed by people who felt I was being too political by standing up for my rights as a trans person. And looking back, I found that somewhat cathartic. Due to spending so much time responding to the arguments of others, I don't really take time to reflect or share my thoughts on things in general. So it was nice to take time and just share how I felt. So here we are, once more sharing my thoughts, specifically on events spanning the past year, starting with something I am very proud of. In the aforementioned video, one of the things I noted was the fact that I hadn't appeared on camera for a long time. So rare had my appearances become that it required special mention. And the reason why that happened was the fact that at the end of last year, my gender dysphoria had become unimaginable. I'd received a constant stream of abuse targeting my appearance and even the fact that I'm not in a financial situation to seek medical treatment. Treatments which would alleviate much of the issue. And that slowly worked its way into my consciousness. I just didn't want to be on camera. I didn't want to put myself through that thoroughly dehumanizing experience of being poked and prodded by online spectators in some sort of eugenics level breakdown. However, things changed later that month as something major happened. We had the Mermaids charity stream on YouTube hosted by various creators whilst Hbomberguy carried out a playthrough of Donkey Kong 64. I posted a video on the subject on the 21st of January, and I remember talking about having a good feeling. A feeling that I wanted to fight back, yet not knowing how long it'd last. I've appeared in all 69 videos since I recorded that one. 70, if we include this one. And I'm fucking proud of that. It was a hard fucking year. The last 9 months have been the hardest of my career on YouTube. I faced a lot of shit, a lot of targeted abuse and threats. A lot of people like those awfully transphobic shitbags, Noel Plum and McRae, prodding and poking me, dehumanizing me, trying to strip me of a vital part of my identity because they see my critical nature as a threat. And I've not backed down in regards to being on camera. Even in the thick of the Delhi summer, I've remained on camera, albeit slightly hot. It may not seem like much to anyone else, but it's a big victory on a personal level, and I need to take them where I can. One of the worst things about me is I have a tendency to focus on the fewer times I've failed than the greater number of times I've succeeded. And others are very good into feeding into that. But I'm receiving help for that, and things with my psychiatrist are going well. We're still going over finding out where my mental health problems rest and what I like to address before we go on to core therapy. One of the things we'll be seeking to address is how to temper my rage, how to turn that raw, unadulterated anger into a more constructive means. Because that was my downfall in September and indeed other places. Whilst my anger at having my rights and very existence placed into question is entirely justified, I just let it flow without thinking, allowing others to use that to position me in a manner they could use to try and silence my criticism of their actions. I should have been smarter with my anger whilst being no less angry. That way I could have expressed my frustration at the current situation without handing them the keys to a nuclear silo. One of the questions I've been asked is whether I would have said what I said in September again if I knew how it would pan out. And the truth is, no. Not because anything I did was morally wrong, it wasn't by any reasonable standard, but because of what it cost both Edita and myself. I can honestly say that clapping back at this particular bigot just wasn't worth the hurt it brought us. But hindsight's a prick in that regard. Though I will say I'm still very proud of the video addressing the issue. That was a hard one to land, especially since people seeking to defame me had such a head start. It was going to be easy for a lot of people to write me off without ever listening to the evidence. that script went through so many rewrites before recording, and it seemed to work. It seemed to make people think about what they'd been told up to that point. Of course, there were always those I'd never convince, but only a couple actually attempted to address what was said in the video, and most of them failed in the fact that they tried to do so after watching only the first section, if any. The number of people who brought up my tweets telling Lizzie Lang to leave the Church of Transphobia as a trump card was really telling. Beyond that, it was usual abuse. Speaking of abuse, I've decided to go back to hold comments with moderation. The reason being that my short usage of the system at the peak of the abuse I received showed me something. It's a brilliant system for cultivating a healthy comment section. People seem to be engaging more with in-depth discourse than shit-flinging matches. It's also a hell of a lot safer for marginalized people to go ahead and comment in, since they can be sure that I'll filter out any abuse before they receive it. And that's something I value. Reacting to abusive comments isn't enough. It's not only too late in most instances with the target having already been impacted, but it can fly under the radar in replies. The hold comments in moderation completely removes that issue with no visible negative over what I was doing before. People will of course accuse me of silencing criticism, even though I lit through comments which are critical yet non-abusive. But the fact is, they did that anyway when I removed abusive comments after they'd gone out. So where's the loss? What it does do is prevent bigots flocking together on a thread, only to all go ahead and start their own as the core thread is removed. I'll probably do a video later on discussing my comment section policy, but I thought it's something to be aware of. Hopefully it'll be a move for the better on the channel, and if not, we can always revert things back at a later date. I think this is all just personal growth. When I was younger and more naive, I got sold this lie that if you don't let anyone and everyone speak on your platform, well, then you were some totalitarian authority censoring people. That this almost libertarian-esque free marketplace of ideas where everything is permitted is required for human advancement. All I can say is that I'm glad to have grown out of that. Targeted abuse of marginalized people for merely existing does not belong in discourse, nor do questions on their existence. That's something academic institutions have acknowledged for ages. That's why they don't allow any ignorant shit to come in and derail lectures. And it's not like they've even been silenced either. I mean, they can always go ahead and upload a video to their own channel detailing their thoughts and how they think they were unfairly removed. So there's always that. So what am I hoping for in the new year? Well, I'm hoping for a shift in the secular community away from apathy and towards accountability. I'm not going to be like Mr. Atheist, Suris, and many of the disappointing figures this year who not only stood by, but actually helped cultivate and defend anti-trans hatred. I'm going to speak out more. I'm going to ignore this childish charge that pointing out when a person is doing something abusive or harmful is somehow drama. I'm not going to hold myself back for fear of provoking a negative response. I'm not going to douse my anger. I'm going to hone it and continue to point out the ethical rot displayed by so many this year. That's a promise I make partially to myself, but I also make it to the many people out there who reached out, those that thanked me for having the initiative to stand up and say that something is not okay, whilst everyone else ignored or even defended it. Know that my inbox is always open in case you have any information about racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, or other forms of bigotry in the secular community. I don't catch everything as it goes by, so please, contact me if you see something you believe worth commenting on. I will always do my best. So yeah, I guess that's enough. something I'm proud of, something I regret, and what I hope to see in the new year and how I plan to personally see to it. So to everyone viewing, for the last time this decade, myself and Adita would like to tell you to all take care, good Yule, and a happy new year. We'd just like to say a big thank you to everyone who's ever donated to the channel via Patreon, giving a special thanks to the following people: Hannah Banghart, Matthew Kovac, McGay, Wellington Marcus, Atlas5, and Sash Daniels. You're all wonderful people who have made this year possible. So thank you.